The magical world of magical girls. A world where a beautiful maiden can follow her dream of protecting Earth from evil and fighting alongside her friends, just to be discarded as a toy or used in a convoluted plot. Yes, today we're not talking about the normal magical girl shows intended for young girls. No. We're talking about the darker turn to the deeps of despair and sorrow that is the world of dark magical girl animes. As a fair warning, there will be major spoilers for the following shows, so if you don't mind getting spoiled, let's move on with the video. For today, I wanted to talk about what makes a dark magical girl anime good. What is the correct formula and why we have so many copycats that failed to recreate this formula. And for that, we need to talk about the OG dark magical girl, the king of dark turns, none other than Madoka Magica herself. Madoka Magica wasn't the first to present us with this idea of magical girls in a dark tone. A few others have delved deeper into the death, betrayal, and more other adult topics. But the way the plot is presented and the way the plot twists were served in small portions during the whole show was what made it into a staple of the dark magical girl genre, and brought more than a few copycats trying to imitate this premise. And it really had a simple premise that started off as any other regular magical girl animes. Madoka and her friends are invited by a magical being called Kyubey to become magical girls in order to fight with witches that eat humans. The first 3 episodes looks like any other magical girl shows, although looking back into it, there were already some signs of the dark turns that were coming ahead. But it's not until the end of episode 3 where we get the first hit of despair, and we realize that magical girls are mortal. Death exists in this world. Not everything will always work out for these girls. And as the story progresses, we learn of new different plot twists that throw us into despair. What happens to your soul after you become a magical girl? What happens if you use your power too often? And so on. These plot twists that kept coming were the reason of its success. Because we never expected something like this to happen. The character designs were looking cute but normal for a magical girl show. And the witches and their dimensions look cartoonish but somehow eerie, which gave a perfect combination to prepare us for what was coming. And yes, all those little things combined helped this anime. But the thing that made it special was the plot and how it developed. By giving us bits of despair and sorrow every now and then, we were kept on the edge, wanting to know more about how things will progress, which in turn created this masterpiece that it still talks to this day. And it is that reason why we have so many copycats that failed to deliver, because they centered so much around a single topic that they forgot how Madoka Magica became popular in the first place. So let's start with Magical Girl's side. Yeah, the one with razor blades on the shoes. To be honest, it felt like the author was just trying to create the most depressing and edgiest show he could imagine by making everyone either a psychopath or a cute and innocent girl. The reason why this anime failed was because it lacked the understanding of how people feel and just turned up everything to 100, depicting violence, bullying, attempted rape, and even torture. And it is not the simple bullying where you call people names or push them, but full-on attempt murder. This all felt really unrealistic, as it was impossible to take it seriously at some points, which is a shame, because I thought the magical powers, how they used them, and the shady organization behind everything were all really interesting. But it lacked the understanding on how people normally behave, that it just became a joke rather than a tragedy. Then we got the Magical Girl Rising project, which is basically a battle royale with magical girls. It had a good story with likable characters, but the problem was that it was simply just that. The story felt confusing and convoluted at times, and other times it felt like they were just trying to show blood and gore, which didn't help to the story at all, since the first scene in the anime basically was just giving us a heads up of what the story was all about, leaving nothing to expect as you all knew where this was going. And the ending felt really lackluster, with the surviving girls trying to become normal magical girls, which kind of feels okay, but then you find out that there are 15 light novels and the story is still going on, so I don't really know where this is going. On the other hand, we have a combination of both the worst parts of Magical Girl's side and the Rising project, in Magical Girl's Special Ops Asuka. Set in a world where girls are selected to become magical girls in order to fight monsters, but the monsters are already defeated, so they are taken both by the military and terrorist groups. With an over-exaggerated depiction of violence, gore, and over-sexualized characters, they were just trying so hard to appeal to mature audiences that they failed to understand that plot is the best spice. While the world building and background story of the military magical girls feels really unique, the plot is so thin you forget that they are supposed to be fighting for their government, and the characters are so edgy you don't even know who is supposed to be good and who's supposed to be the bad guys. I also want to mention the spin-off of Madoka Magica, Magia Records. Set in a parallel universe focusing on new, different girls, the story lacks the shock factor that was present on the original Madoka, as we already know which type of show this is. And taking away the transformation of magical girls into witches out of the equation, there is no real sense of danger in which you are concerned about the girls using their powers and watching their souls turn dark. Which comes to show that even with a good background, if the plot, the twist and the turns are not good, even known stories can fail. For me, the only good story that has ever come close to Madoka Magica is Yuki Yuna is a Hero. This story focuses on a few girls living in an island that join the hero club in their school, helping people here and there. Everything changes when they are tasked with the protecting of the Divine Tree from 12 monsters that want to destroy it. And while this show doesn't have as many plot twists or dark turns as Madoka, when they hit like a truck. I still remember that scene where they learn one of the girls has lost her voice and won't ever be able to fulfill her dream of becoming a singer. That still hits so hard to this day. And while it is not as dark or gory as other animes, it becomes its own story, which proves that good plot doesn't need to be carried out by depressing scenes or edgy characters. That's why Madoka has stayed as the top of the dark magical girl genre, because it was unexpected, unique, and knew when to make us wait and when to give us dark turns. While I can't pinpoint exactly how this formula works, we can look back at all the dark magical girl animes and realize that a good anime cannot be carried out just by a good premise or interesting characters, but a combination of everything with a good plot that combines everything. And a few but strong dark turns that make you feel for the characters but doesn't go full on pity mode. I have always been a fan of this genre and I hope we get more of this type of shows in the future, and maybe one day dethrone Madoka from its position. For now, I've been Justin and I will see you guys next time.